Howdy, people. Chris Angel coming at you with another episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us. That's right. Marketing for those of us who don't want to chase algorithms, don't want to play the games that others play in marketing. We just want to be able to reach the people we want to reach with an authentic message and have it work, right? Well, look, one of the challenges that we have in marketing is being consistent, having our message be clear. So consistency, clarity, and a lot of times that comes around because we don't know what to say. We're like, and usually it comes down to two things, right? It's either I have too many things to say and I don't know where to start, or it's that you don't even know what to, like your mind goes blank. You don't even know you don't even know what to say. Like you don't have anything to say, right? So I want to break this down because in order for you to play the game of marketing, or for you to be effective in marketing, you have to say something. You have to say something. You can't just come out to the market with your product. You can't just be like, hey, here's a thing. Do you want to buy it? That's not marketing. That's not going to get you anywhere. You have to have a conversation. And in that conversation, you will create connection and people can decide in that conversation whether they want to work with you or not, right? But you have to say something and you have to be consistent with it. It's not enough for you to say it once, right? One piece of content for your life, one piece of content this year, this month, isn't enough. Remember yesterday in our episode, ultimately marketing is about relationship, and your ability to create relationship is going to affect whether people buy from you or not. So in order to do that, again, you have to be able to say something and say it consistently. So let's break down this problem of how to find things to say. The first thing I want to tell you is that under any message, under any content, it has to come from your truth. You can't regurgitate what's popular to say. This is why I don't like it when we reshare popular quotes, because a popular quote is overused. It's overshared. What I want to know is, what do you have to say? What is your truth? So that's the first place to anchor yourself, is inside of what's true for you. Because when you speak from what's true for you, I, on the receiving end of that, can feel it. I can tell, like, oh, yeah, like they're speaking their truth. And that's what has me listen to you versus somebody else as an authority about something, because I can tell that it's true for you. I believe that you believe it, right? That's how that happens. You say something with conviction and I go, oh, yeah, like I'll listen to that. But when you speak from a place of trying to check the box, like, oh yeah, I posted to Facebook today, but there was no truth in it, then I tune out. It's not interesting, and I don't want to build a relationship with you, right? So you have to come from a place of truth. Now, once you can anchor yourself or orient yourself in your truth about something, that you'll start to find that starts to give you something to say, right? You'll start to find. It's funny, listen guys, you're never short on things to say when you're coming from truth. Have you never noticed that? Like when, just go to any of the places that you can go on a rant, and ultimately what you'll find at the core of that is a truth for you, right? A perspective, a point of view. Okay. So truth is where we start. Once you have truth, once you can orient yourself to your truth about something, then we can move into the next piece, which is you have to have a frame. You have to have a frame. Let me give you an example. This daily show I'm doing now called Marketing for the Rest of Us is a frame. That name, Marketing for the Rest of Us, is a frame. And inside of that, it gives me a lot of focus and direction for what to talk about inside of marketing. I already know that from the name, Marketing for the Rest of Us, we're not talking about algorithms. This is the counter story to algorithms, right? SEO and algorithms and all the games people play in marketing. This is the opposite of that. And so I already have sort of a direction I can move with content on a daily basis inside of this conversation called Marketing for the Rest of Us. I know that Marketing for the Rest of Us is for people who care about relationship. You care about authenticity. You want something that's real. You don't want to bother people. You want to inspire people. You don't want to come off as a salesperson. You want to come off as somebody who is an inspirer, a leader. And so inside of that now, I have a lot of focus for what to talk about in a way that makes sense to you if you're like me, if you're from my tribe, and you don't want to play the games of marketing, you don't want to have to chase algorithms, then this frame gives me focus. If you don't have a frame, gang, then what happens is you're like, man, what should I talk about marketing? Should I talk about like how long a blog post should be? Should I talk about my latest events on Snapchat? Like there's no focus. And that makes it really hard for you to talk about something, right? So number one, you got to anchor yourself inside of your truth. Number two, you need to create a frame. And one of the easiest hacks for creating a frame is to put a name to something. Like do your content inside of a show, and that show should have a name. That creates a frame. We have a client who signed on with us, our marketing agency, in the last month, who does a lot of different types of healing work, right? Somatic healing work with horses, like working with a horse to do healing work, all sorts of types of healing. And as I was asking her all about the different types of things she does and her passion, we ended up creating a name for her show called Healing You. Healing You. I see a lot of people already on this Facebook Live are actually in Spokane. Her name is Gloria Liebecker, and she has, her company is actually local here in Spokane. But she's creating a show called Healing You. Now that creates a frame, right? Because we know from the name of the show that it's about healing, and we know that it's going to deal with internal things, like what are all the different places where we have to look to actually heal ourselves. So she now has a frame for all of her content. All of her content. Inside of that frame, she can talk about the horse work she does. She can talk about the somatic work she does. She can talk about all the different things inside of that umbrella. So you need to have a frame that gives you focus, okay? All right, now, once you have that, where I would start to look, I call them buckets of content. But this, you have your truth and you have your frame. Now inside of the frame, right, or your show's name, now you want to look for what are like 3 to 7. If you really want to push it, you can go to 10, but 10 feels like a lot. 3 to 7 buckets of content, right, or topics. So it could look like, it kind of depends on every person. Every person is a little bit different. But one of the buckets could be relationships. Another bucket, let's just put this in even more context. So let's say that the frame is Gloria's show and it's about healing you. So inside of healing, there's a lot of ways we could go. So how do we organize that into verticals or into buckets? So in terms of healing, she could talk about healing relationships. So relationships could be a bucket, right? She could also talk about healing our past, right? Like past experiences. She could talk about healing remedies, right? And so inside of these verticals, we can start to then list subtopics. If you are, let's use mine, for example, in terms of marketing. In marketing, I could go down the road of algorithms, right? Or playing the game. And I could have a whole bunch of topics around playing the game. I could have a bucket of content that is around authenticity, because I believe that marketing really needs to be about authentic. So I could have a whole bunch of subtopics or sub-ideas around authenticity. I could talk about expression, right? Meaning like tools, podcasts, Facebook Lives, Instagram. Like how do we use these tools in a way that feels authentic, right? And so I can have a bucket around tools. So you see, like when we start to create buckets of content inside the frame, it gives you a place to go quickly for an idea for content. If you don't have buckets, then what you have is like, if you're the kind of person that has too many ideas, then you don't know where to go. Or if you try to go somewhere with it, it's really random. Okay. And if you're the kind of person who doesn't know where to start at all, you're like, nothing's coming up, then these buckets are memory joggers, right? They activate your mind in a direction. Okay. So, number one, you got to orient yourself to your truth. Number two, you've got to create the frame for your content. And I like to do that inside of the name of a show, and all your content lives inside of that show. Okay. Number three, you want to create some focus with buckets of content. What are some of the overarching themes inside of this frame that give you a memory jogger in a moment, right? Okay. So there it is, gang. Like those are some places to start what I would like to know from you, if you're watching this in a replay or you're watching it live right now, like in the comments, what questions do you have? What ideas did this spark? Right? And let me leave you with this. Let me leave you with some pain. Right? Because it's one thing to just jump on a Facebook Live and consume some content, right? Like maybe you're watching this because it's interesting. You're like, oh yeah, like I've had that before. Like I don't know what to say. And because of that, you've been inconsistent. But look, if you're inconsistent, look, let's just get real here. Like you all have a place you want to be and you are not there now. I have that. I have a place I want to be and I'm not there now. Right? That's part of the human condition. That's part of us wanting to expand. That's part of goal setting and having vision. We go, my vision is over there and I'm right here and I need to get over there. And for most of you, marketing is the thing that's going to get you to the next place, because marketing is a very leveraged activity that builds lots of relationship with lots of people using very little time to do it, if you do it right. Okay? Lots of people with lots of relationship in very little time. That's what we're trying to solve for. That's what we're trying to reverse engineer. How do we create that? And if you don't crack the code on this marketing thing, then what you're left with is more of the same tomorrow, next month, this year, the rest of your career, and maybe the rest of your life. You're not interested in the conversation of marketing if you're not a leader. If you're a leader and you have something to say, you have a difference to make, then you're a leader. But if you don't get in the game of marketing and start getting consistent in it, then you're going to look back on your life when you're 80, when you're 90, and be like, what could have been? Where could I have gone? What difference could I make? What results could I have produced? I think a lot of times your confusion, this is great, this came out of a conversation today, your confusion around what to say or your confusion around marketing isn't so much about not knowing what to say or about knowledge. It's a defense mechanism because you're afraid. If we get really honest about it, we're afraid to create content because we're afraid to be judged. We're afraid to sound stupid. We're afraid people will reject it or reject us. And so you sit there so you go buy the next course, and then you read the next book, and you try podcasting for a month or two, and then you try Facebook Lives for a little while, and nothing ever gets roots. You never get traction with any of them. Because you're trying to hit the perfect marketing piece. You're trying to hit the perfect video. You're trying to make it perfect from the beginning. And what you need to realize is it's all an iteration. None of it's perfect, and you just iterate and iterate and iterate, right? You do it over and over and over, and you keep playing with these concepts, and you keep honing in on what actually works for you, what resonates for you, what your truth is in your marketing, and what resonates over there. Like, what truth are you sharing that they actually resonate with? Right? So, and don't don't be confused when you don't do marketing and you don't find your truth and you're trying to check a box and play marketing and it doesn't feel right to you, then you start hiding. And when you hide and it ends up spilling into other areas of life, right? You don't feel great about your marketing, and so you read a book, and instead of hanging out with your family, you're trying to crack the code on marketing, and so your family starts to feel neglected. I know this. I've done this. I know this. I'm sitting there reading a book, taking a class. And I'm not saying those things are bad. I'm just saying, like, you've got to watch for where this breakdown in marketing and the lack of confidence in what your truth is and what you have to say to the world starts to spill over into how present you are with your family, how attentive you are to your personal health. Do you know, like, when my confidence is sabotaged, when I rock my confidence in a bad way with uncertainty and confusion, I start paying less attention to working out or how I'm eating, right? That then affects my confidence there. I start checking out. My wife and I don't go on dates. I start checking out there. Like, you've got to get that one area of life is connected to the rest. And you checking out from marketing because you don't know what to say is a ruse, really. It's a ruse. Your subconscious is trying to protect you from not getting hurt. The reality is, gang, you all have something to say already. It's not that you don't know what to say. You know what to say. You have lots to say. You say it all the time. You say it in your head. You say it in a journal. You say it with other people. But when it comes to doing it in a very public manner, like a Facebook Live or a podcast or some other kind of show, we start to pull back a little bit. Now, it may be conscious for you, or that might live more as a subconscious thing for you. But most of the time, the confusion is a ruse, and it's trying to protect us from being outcast, from being ridiculed, judged, criticized. But that's the beautiful thing about truth, isn't it? Like, nobody can take your truth from you. So in marketing, if where you come from in marketing is your truth, then one, you'll have lots of conviction behind it, and two, nobody can say it isn't true for you. And those are the places that you need to start looking in order to show up consistently in your content and make an impact, to create a relationship, to spark trust and attention. So let's just recap and I'll let you go, right? It's start with your truth. When you don't know what to say, you got to start with your truth. And from there, you need to find your frame, because your frame will help focus your thoughts and your ideas. From there, you need to find what are the buckets, what are the common topics that I can talk about inside of this frame, and then underneath those are subtopics, right? Okay. That's it, gang. That's it. Here's the action item. Here's what there is to do. Go create some content. Go jot down really quickly, like, what is the frame? And inside of that, like, what truth have I uncovered? What truth have I found about that lately? And then create some buckets. Just jot down like 3 to 5 to 7, verticals inside of that frame, and then go create content. Publicly go on Facebook Live, publicly record a video and then upload it to Facebook. I don't care. Write a blog post. I don't care, but you've got to start getting your message out. And if I were you, I would do a daily show. There you go. Because it's an easy place. Look, going Facebook Live right here, this is an easy place to start. So there you go, gang. If you want to learn more about what we do in our marketing agency, right, this is what we help people do. We make marketing easy for people, right? Go to mygroundswell.com. You guys can check us out there. Until tomorrow, when we go live for episode 9, I will be seeing you. Have a great night.